It was a Tuesday morning in October 2022. My phone rang at exactly 9:17 a.m. I was already dressed in my best black suit, standing in the tiny kitchen of my Brooklyn apartment. The recruiter's name flashed on the screen: Goldman Sachs. Final round. This was it. I answered on the second ring. Emma Thompson speaking. Emma, great news, the recruiter said, voice crisp and professional. We want you in at 2 p.m. today for the last interview with the managing director. This is the one. Don't be late. I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. 3 years of grinding through analyst roles, late nights, and rejections. This was the door. I had prepped until 3 a.m. the night before. My notes were printed, my answers ready. I said, I'll be there. Thank you. The moment I hung up, the front door of my parents' house in New Jersey opened in my mind because I was supposed to drive there first. My mother called immediately after. Emma, where are you? You need to be here by noon. Sarah's brunch is today and she needs help setting up. The caterers are late and your father is already stressed. I froze. Mom, I have the final Goldman interview at 2 p.m. I told you this last week. Multiple times. There was a pause. Then my father's voice came on the line. He must have been listening on speaker. Emma, don't be selfish. Sarah has important people coming, potential clients for her new event planning business. This could change everything for her. You can reschedule your little meeting. It's not a little meeting, I said, voice steady. It's the final round. They don't reschedule these. My mother cut in. Sarah is your sister. Family comes first. We already told her you'd be here. She's counting on you. Get in the car now. I looked at the clock. 9:35 a.m. Traffic from Brooklyn to their house in Montclair would take at least an hour. Setting up would take more. There was no way. I tried again. This is my career. I've worked toward this for years. My father's tone sharpened. And Sarah has worked toward this brunch. We're not discussing it. Come help your sister or don't bother coming home this month. The line went quiet for a second. I heard Sarah in the background laughing with someone. My mother hung up. I stood, there holding the phone. My hands started shaking. I called the recruiter back. Voice cracking just a little, I asked if there was any flexibility. He said no. The slot was fixed. They had 2 other final candidates. If I missed it, I was out. I missed it. I drove to Montclair instead. When I arrived, Sarah was in a cream silk dress, directing people like a queen. The backyard was decorated with white flowers and linen tablecloths. My mother hugged her tightly. You look perfect, darling. No one hugged me. My father barely looked up from his phone. Good. You made the right choice. Now help with the chairs. That day I carried trays, poured drinks, smiled at Sarah's guests. One of them was a venture capitalist who kept saying how talented Sarah was. I nodded along. Inside, something hard settled in my chest. I didn't cry that night. I drove back to Brooklyn, sat on my couch, and stared at the wall for 2 hours straight. The rejection email from Goldman came at 6:42 p.m. We went with another candidate whose availability aligned better. I saved the email. I read it again the next morning. That was the moment everything changed, even if I didn't know it yet, because 3 years later, Sarah would be the one calling me begging. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back further so you understand why that Tuesday hurt so much. My name is Emma Thompson. I'm 31 now. Sarah is 29. We grew up in the same house in Montclair, New Jersey, but we lived in 2 different worlds. My parents, Richard and Diane Thompson, always had a favorite. Sarah was the golden child. Bright smile, easy charm, the one who could cry her way out of anything. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who didn't make scenes. When I was 10, Sarah wanted ballet lessons. Expensive studio in the city. My parents found the money immediately. When I asked for soccer cleats and a team fee 2 months later, they said the budget was tight. I worked weekends at the local library shelving books at 14 to pay for my own cleats. In high school, Sarah got a new car for her 16th birthday, a red Honda Civic. I got to drive the old family minivan and was told to be grateful. When I made valedictorian, my father said, "Nice, but Sarah's cheerleading captain. That takes real leadership." Small things stacked up. Birthday parties where Sarah got the bigger cake, Christmas where her gifts were always more expensive, college applications. Sarah applied to NYU. My parents paid every penny. I got into Rutgers on a partial scholarship. They told me it built character to pay my own way. I did pay. I worked night shifts at a diner during undergrad. I graduated with honors in finance while Sarah changed majors twice and finally dropped out after 2 years. My parents said she was finding herself. By 2019, I was working as a junior analyst at a mid-sized bank in Manhattan. Salary $68,000. I lived in a shared apartment in Queens at first, then scraped together enough for my own tiny place in Brooklyn. Sarah was posting Instagram stories from Miami trips funded by my parents. "Living my best life," she wrote. I kept my head down. I studied for the CFA exams on weekends. I took every extra project. In 2021, I moved to a better firm. Salary jumped to $92,000. I thought maybe now they would see. They didn't. In early 2022, Sarah announced she was starting an event planning business. Elite Moments by Sarah. My parents gave her $50,000 as seed money. No questions asked. When I asked for a $10,000 loan to help with some certification courses and interview coaching, my mother said, "Emma, you're already doing well. Sarah needs this push." I took an extra part-time consulting gig instead. I paid for the coaching myself. By October 2022, I had made it to the final round at Goldman Sachs, Private Wealth Management Division, base salary starting at $100. $85,000 plus bonus. That interview was my ticket out of the grind. My chance to finally prove I belonged in the big leagues, and they blocked it for a brunch. The weeks after that rejection were brutal. I went back to my job, smiled in meetings, stayed late, but every night I replayed that phone call. The way my father's voice dismissed my career like it was nothing. The way my mother chose Sarah without hesitation. I started keeping a notebook, not a diary of feelings, just facts, dates, what they said, what they did. Cold records, November 2022. Sarah's business had its first big event. My parents flew her to Los Angeles to scout venues. They asked me to cover her shift helping at their church fundraiser. I said yes. I always said yes back then. December 2022, Christmas. Sarah got a new MacBook Pro as her main gift. I received a sweater and a card that said, "Keep working hard." Inside the card, my mother wrote, "We're so proud of both our girls, but Sarah is really shining right now." I smiled, thanked them, and went back to Brooklyn. That night, I updated my resume again. I applied to 17 more positions. January 2023. I landed a senior analyst role at Meridian Capital, a boutique firm known for aggressive growth. 134,000 base. I didn't tell my parents right away. I wanted to see if they would ask. They didn't. They called to say Sarah needed help designing her new website. Could I come over that weekend? I went. I built the website in 2 days. Sarah barely looked at it. She was too busy posting selfies. February 2023. My father had a minor health scare, high blood pressure. My mother called me in a panic at 2 a.m. I drove to New Jersey immediately. Sarah arrived the next afternoon looking rested. She brought flowers and cried beautifully at his bedside. I had already handled the insurance paperwork and spoken to the doctors. My mother hugged Sarah longer. I started pulling back after that. Not dramatically, just small boundaries. I said no to one Sunday dinner, then another. My mother accused me of being distant. "Sarah misses you," she said. Sarah never called me herself. Spring 2023. I got promoted faster than expected at Meridian. My boss noticed I worked harder than anyone. I closed a major client deal in April that brought in significant revenue. Bonus check for $28,000. I used most of it to pay down my student loans and upgrade my laptop. Sarah's business hit a rough patch. One client stiffed her for $15,000. My parents covered it. They told me later, casually over dinner, "We can't let Sarah fail. She's so close to breaking through." I nodded. Inside, I added another line to my notebook. By summer 2023, I had a new goal. I wanted to build something that was completely mine. I started networking quietly. I took on side projects. I saved aggressively. I was done waiting for their approval. Meanwhile, Sarah was planning her biggest event yet. A luxury wedding in the Hamptons for a semi-famous influencer. She needed more capital. My parents took a home. Equity line, $75,000 more. They mentioned it to me like it was normal. I asked once carefully, "Have you ever thought about balancing support between us?" My father looked at me like I had grown a second head. "Emma, Sarah is creative. She needs the help. You're stable. You don't." That was the last time, I asked. I threw myself into work. Long hours, early mornings. I built relationships with clients who mattered. One of them, a hedge fund manager named David Klein, started mentoring me. He saw something in me. He introduced me to bigger opportunities. By late 2023, I was handling portfolios worth millions. My salary crossed $170,000 with bonuses. I moved to a better apartment in Brooklyn Heights. 1 bedroom, real kitchen, view of the river. I didn't post about it. I didn't tell my family the exact numbers. Sarah's Hamptons wedding event went well on the surface. But behind the scenes, there were issues. Vendors complained about late payments. The bride posted a subtle complaint on social media. Sarah spun it as artistic differences. My mother called me to defend her. "People are being so mean to your sister online. Can you leave a nice comment?" I didn't. Instead, I focused on my own path. In January 2024, I closed my biggest deal yet. A family office with $200 million under management. The commission alone was life-changing. I started thinking about my next move. Maybe starting my own advisory firm one day. Small, elite, built on trust and results. Sarah's business began to crack in spring 2024. Clients ghosted her. Cash flow dried up. She posted less. The vacation stopped. My parents started sounding worried on calls. I listened. I said little. By June 2024, Sarah was struggling to pay rent on her cute studio in Manhattan. My parents helped again, but I could hear the strain in their voices. The home equity line was adding up. I kept working, kept building. In August 2024, I had my first big speaking slot at an industry conference. Small panel, but the right people were in the room. David Klein introduced me. I spoke calmly about disciplined portfolio management. People took notes. A few reached out afterward. That same weekend, Sarah called me directly for the first time in months. She needed advice on a contract. I gave her 10 minutes on the phone, professional and distant. She sounded surprised by how busy I sounded. Something was shifting. I could feel it. The real turn came in October 2024. Exactly 2 years after that blocked Goldman interview. Sarah's biggest client yet fired her 2 weeks before the event. Paid only half. She was devastated. My parents called me in tears. "Emma, Sarah is broken. She might have to declare bankruptcy. Can you help?" I listened to them panic. Then I said I would think about it. That night I opened my notebook. 2 years of entries, dates, amounts, words they had said. I read every line, and I started planning, but that's still ahead. Let me tell you what happened in those 2 years in more detail, because the slow burn is what made the later justice so sweet. After the Goldman rejection, I made a rule. Never again would I let them derail me. I tracked every hour of my work. I joined professional groups on LinkedIn. I reached out to alumni from Rutgers. Quietly, steadily, I built a network they knew nothing about. My parents kept sending me articles about Sarah's progress. I read them. Then I went back to my spreadsheets. In March 2023, Sarah launched a big marketing campaign for her business. My parents paid for the ads, $12,000. The campaign brought in 3 new clients. 2 of them canceled within a month. I was promoted again in July 2023. My title became Senior Portfolio Manager. Salary plus bonus potential pushed toward $220,000. I bought my first real investment property, a small 1-bedroom condo in Jersey City. Cash flow positive from day one. I didn't tell them. Sarah found out somehow. She called me jealous when I wouldn't lend her money for new photography equipment. "You're so lucky, Emma. Everything falls into your lap." I didn't argue. I just said, "I work hard, Sarah." She laughed like it was a joke. The distance grew. Family dinners became every other month. I started bringing work excuses, real ones. My mother complained I was becoming cold. My father said I used to be more helpful. Helpful meant doing things for Sarah. In November 2023, Sarah had a public meltdown on Instagram. A vendor posted about unpaid invoices, comments flooded in. My parents called an emergency family meeting. They wanted me to talk to Sarah and fix her image. I drove over. Sarah was crying on the couch. My mother was rubbing her back. My father looked at me expectantly. I sat down and said, "Sarah, you need better contracts and clearer payment. Terms. Here are 3 templates I use." I emailed them to her. Then I left. No hug, no long emotional talk. Just practical help and exit. My mother texted me later. "Sarah felt you were distant. Good." By early 2024, I had 3 major clients who followed me personally. My reputation grew inside Meridian. Partners started including me in higher-level meetings. I was 30 years old and managing money for people who used to intimidate me. Sarah's event business shrank to almost nothing. She started doing small birthday parties to survive. My parents covered her rent again in April, $6,500. I paid my own mortgage and saved $20,000 that quarter. The contrast was becoming impossible to ignore, even for them. In July 2024, Sarah tried to pivot to life coaching for creative entrepreneurs. She asked my parents for another $20,000 for certification and marketing. They gave it, but I heard hesitation in my father's voice for the first time. He called me afterward. "Emma, maybe you could mentor your sister. Share some of your business knowledge." I said, "She needs to figure it out herself, Dad," like I did. He didn't like that answer. Tension was building, small cracks in the perfect family picture they had painted for 29 years. I kept my notebook updated. I waited. And then, in late October 2024, Sarah called me directly. Voice small, no attitude. "Emma, I need help. Can we talk?" That call changed everything, but I'll continue in the next part. "Emma, I need help. Can we talk?" Sarah's voice on the phone that October evening was different, smaller, no sparkle, no demands hidden behind sweetness. Just quiet desperation. I was sitting at my new desk in my Brooklyn Heights apartment, the river lights reflecting on the window. I had just closed another strong quarter. "I'm listening," I said. She took a shaky breath. "The business is done." I lost the last 2 clients. They said my deliveries were inconsistent. Mom and Dad helped with rent again, but they're tapped out from the home equity line. I'm 3 months behind on my credit cards. $22,000, I don't know what to do. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence sit. Then I asked, "What exactly do you need from me?" "Anything. A loan. Advice. Maybe you know. Someone hiring. You're doing so well now. Everyone says you're killing it at Meridian." I opened my notebook on the laptop. The entry from 2 years earlier stared back at me. The Goldman rejection. I scrolled through the pages of records. "Sarah, I'm not in a position to give loans, but I can look at your situation." She started crying, soft at first, then louder. "I feel like a failure. Mom keeps saying I just need one big break, but nothing is working. You always land on your feet. How do you do it?" I didn't answer the question. Instead, I said, "Send me your resume and a list of your recent clients. I'll review it tonight." She emailed it within 20 minutes. The resume was thin. Lots of fluff about creative direction and curating unforgettable experiences. Client list had gaps, payments missed. I read every line carefully. The hairs. Next morning, I called her back. "Your experience is mostly in event coordination, not much transferable to finance. But there might be entry-level opportunities in administrative support." "Admin?" She sounded shocked. "Emma, I ran my own business." Ran it into the ground, I thought, but I didn't say it. "It's a start. Stability first." She hated the idea. I could hear it in her voice, but she was desperate. She asked if I could ask around at Meridian. I told her I would see what was available. Meanwhile, my own career was accelerating. In November 2024, David Klein brought me into a new private client group. High net worth families. My portfolio responsibility jumped. One client alone had $140 million. I restructured their holdings and delivered a 12% return in the first quarter. The family sent a personal thank you note and a bottle of 2015 Bordeaux. I took a photo of the note but never showed my parents. Thanksgiving 2024 was tense. My mother insisted we all come to Montclair. Sarah arrived looking thinner, dark circles under her eyes. She sat next to my father the whole time. I helped in the kitchen because I always did. My mother kept glancing between us. "Emma, you could give your sister some tips. She's going through a rough patch." I passed the mashed potatoes. Sarah knows where to find me. My father cleared his throat. We're family. We lift each other up. I looked at him directly. Like how you lifted me for that Goldman interview? The table went quiet. Sarah stared at her plate. My mother changed the subject to the neighbor's new pool. That night, Sarah texted me, "Can we talk privately tomorrow?" We met at a coffee shop in Montclair. She wore an old sweater, no makeup. I applied to a few admin jobs like you suggested. No callbacks. My credit score is tanked. I need something fast. I stirred my coffee slowly. There's an opening in my department, executive assistant to the senior portfolio team. It's not glamorous. Salary starts at $58,000. Benefits are good. Health insurance kicks in immediately. Her eyes widened. Working? For you? Under the team. You would report to me on daily tasks. She laughed nervously. Emma, that's weird. You're my sister. It's a job, Sarah. Professional. If you can't separate that, then don't apply. She was quiet for a long minute. Then she nodded. I'll think about it. She called 2 days later. I'll take it. I have no choice. I submitted her application internally. My boss trusted my judgment. The interview was scheduled for the following week. I prepped her on what to say. Professional answers only. No personal stories. The day of her interview, she showed up in a black pantsuit I recognized from her old event days. She looked nervous. I waited outside the conference room. When she came out, she gave me a small smile. I think it went okay. She got the offer 3 days later. Start date, December 9th, 2024. I signed off on the paperwork as her direct supervisor. Parents found out that evening. My mother called me immediately. Emma, is this true? Sarah is going to work as your assistant? Yes. This is humiliating for her. She ran her own business. She needs steady income. This provides it. My father got on the line. You couldn't find her something better? Something with more dignity? I kept my voice even. This is what's available. She accepted. They weren't happy, but Sarah needed the money. She moved back in with them temporarily to save on rent. The first paycheck would come in January. I didn't celebrate. I prepared. December 9th arrived. Cold morning in Manhattan. I met Sarah in the lobby of the Meridian building. She carried a small box with personal items. I walked her through security, got her badge, showed her the desk right outside my office. Morning stand-up is at 8:45. I need the client reports compiled by 9:15. Calendar management. Expense tracking, no personal calls during work hours. She nodded. I understand. The first week was quiet. She learned the system slowly, made small mistakes. I corrected them professionally. No special treatment, no harshness either. Just clear expectations. My mother called me on day 4. Sarah says you're being cold at work. She's trying her best. She's doing fine. This is a professional environment. By week 2, Sarah started complaining in the family group chat. Emma is so strict. She makes me redo spreadsheets 3 times. I didn't respond in the chat. I addressed it directly at the office. Sarah, the client data must be accurate. Redo it correctly. She did. Meanwhile, my own work was reaching new heights. In mid-December, I closed a major referral from David Klein, a tech executive moving $38 million into our management. The bonus projection for the year looked strong. I started outlining plans for my own firm in the new year. Quietly. Christmas 2024 at my parents' house felt different. Sarah was exhausted from the commute and learning curve. She fell asleep on the couch after dinner. My father watched her with worry. This job is too much for her. I helped clean up as usual. My mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. Maybe you can ease up on her, she's family. I dried a plate. At work, she's my assistant, not family. That boundary protects both of us. She didn't like the answer. New Year's Eve. I spent quietly in my apartment reviewing 2024 numbers. Revenue generated under my management, $4.2 million. Personal compensation package closing in on $260,000. I wrote the final entry in my old notebook. Then I started a new one. January 2025. Sarah had been on the job for a month. She improved. She was good with client scheduling. The team liked her friendly phone manner. but attention to detail still slipped sometimes. One Tuesday, I asked her to prepare briefing notes for an important 10 a.m. meeting. She mixed up 2 client portfolios. The numbers were off by almost 200,000. I caught it 15 minutes. Before the call, I called her into my office. Door closed. "Sarah, this error could have cost us trust. Fix it now and double-check everything going forward." She looked embarrassed. "Sorry, I was up late talking to Mom." I didn't comment on that. Work stays at work. That evening, my father called, angry. "You embarrassed your sister in front of the whole team? It was a closed-door correction, standard procedure. You're enjoying this, aren't you?" I paused. "I'm doing my job, Dad. The same way I've always done it." The call ended abruptly. Tension was rising, but Sarah kept showing up. She needed the paycheck. Rent assistance from my parents was drying up. She started looking for her own place again, but prices in the city were brutal. February 2025 brought the first real test. A major client audit. I was leading it. Sarah was responsible for compiling all supporting documents. 2 days before the audit, she left a folder with outdated statements on my desk. I stayed until 11 p.m., fixing it myself. The next morning, I handed her the corrected version. "This cannot happen again," she apologized. Worked late that night to catch up. My mother texted me, "Sarah cried last night. She feels like you're punishing her for the past." I didn't reply. Inside, I felt a quiet satisfaction, not cruelty, just balance. Every spreadsheet she fixed, every early morning she arrived on time, was a small piece of the record being set straight. March 2025, spring was coming. I finalized plans to launch my independent advisory practice. Smaller client base, higher touch, better fees. Meridian offered me a partnership to stay. I turned it down politely. My notice would be given in April. Sarah didn't know yet. 1. Afternoon, she came into my office with coffee. She had started doing that. Small gestures. "Emma, can we talk about us, not work?" I looked up from my screen. "What's on your mind?" I know I wasn't always fair growing up, Mom. And Dad favored me. I see it now. I'm sorry. I sipped the coffee. It was lukewarm. Apology noted. Focus on doing good work here. She lingered. "Do you hate me?" "No, I don't hate you. I just don't trust you yet." That answer seemed to hit harder than anger would have. My parents sensed the shift. They invited me to dinner without Sarah one evening, tried to appeal to family loyalty. "She's your blood. Help her advance." I listened. Then I said, "She's advancing the same way I did. Through work." They changed tactics. Guilt. Stories about how hard Sarah was trying, how proud they were of both daughters now. I left early. By late March, Sarah had stabilized. She found a small apartment in Queens, affordable because of the steady paycheck. She decorated it simply. Posted one photo, no big captions. I approved her time off request for the move, professional as always. Then came April. I gave my notice at Meridian. The partners were disappointed but respectful. They asked me to stay 2 months for transition. I agreed. Sarah found out through office gossip. She came to my office looking pale. "You're leaving? What happens to me?" "You'll report to the new lead, or you can look for other opportunities." She sat down uninvited. "Emma, please, I've gotten better. I can help you at the new firm." I leaned back. This was the moment I had waited for. My new practice? We'll need an assistant. Same salary, same responsibilities, but it would be directly under me. Full-time. "Are you interested?" She stared at me. "Yes, I am." I nodded. "Then we'll make it official next month." My parents called that night. Furious. "You're taking her with you? After everything?" I answered calmly. "She's a good assistant now. Reliable. It makes business sense." The conversation went in circles. Accusations, defenses. I ended the call. Inside, the loops were closing. The brunch that cost me Goldman, the years of imbalance, the quiet grind, all of it leading here. Sarah started preparing for the transition. She asked more questions about my vision. She worked harder. I watched her carefully. The new office space in Lower Manhattan was small but elegant. I signed the lease in early May. Sarah helped organize the move. She labeled boxes without being asked, stayed late. On the last day at Meridian, my team threw a small goodbye gathering. Sarah stood in the back, quiet, watching. As we left the building together that evening, she said softly, "Thank you for the opportunity, Emma." I looked at her. Prove it every day. That's where the real story of her working for me began. But the full weight of the justice came in the months that followed. The new office opened on June 2nd, 2025. A sleek 1,500 square foot space on the 12th floor of a building on Broad Street in Lower Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. I had invested $120,000 of my own money into the setup. Furniture, secure servers, compliance licensing, initial marketing. Sarah arrived at 7:45 a.m. with 2 coffees and a notebook. I handed her the keys to the front door. "You open at 8 WA every morning. Close at 6 gears unless we have a client dinner. Calendar is already synced." She nodded. No complaints. She arranged the waiting area, stocked the small kitchenette with water and snacks for clients, and set up her desk right outside my private office. The nameplate read, Sarah Thompson, Executive Assistant. First week, we had 3 initial client meetings. High net worth individuals David Klein had referred, a retired pharma executive with $42 million, a tech founder liquidating. Stock options worth $28 million. Sarah handled scheduling, prepared the conference room with fresh notes and water glasses, and took detailed minutes without being asked. She made one small error on the second day. Double booked a 10 a.m. slot. I noticed it at 8:30. I called her in. "Fix it now. Call the 11 a.m. client and offer to move them to 1:30 with my personal apology." She fixed it. Stayed until 7:15 that evening making follow-up calls. My mother texted the family group that night. "How is the first week going?" "Girls?" Sarah replied with a thumbs-up emoji. I said nothing. By mid-June, the practice had 7 active clients. Assets under management reached $180 million. My fee structure was 1.25%. Revenue was flowing. I paid Sarah her $58,000 salary on time, plus full benefits. No bonuses yet. She earned every dollar. One Thursday afternoon, a big prospect came in, a widow from Connecticut with $65 million from her late husband's estate. She was nervous about switching advisors. Sarah greeted her warmly at the door, offered her favorite herbal tea. She had remembered the preference from the intake form, and seated her in the sunlit waiting area. The meeting went well. The widow signed the paperwork. As she left, she told Sarah, "You have a very professional setup here. Your sister runs a tight ship." Sarah smiled politely. Later in my office, she said, "That felt good, being part of something that works." I reviewed the signed agreement. "Good work on the preparation. Tomorrow we need the full portfolio transfer documents ready by noon." She delivered them at 11:40 a.m. July brought the first real pressure. One of my early clients wanted a complete rebalancing during market volatility. The S&P had dropped 4% in 2 weeks. He was anxious. I needed detailed reports, tax loss harvesting analysis, and new allocation models by Monday morning. I gave Sarah the assignment on Thursday at 4 p.m. This must be perfect. No rounding errors. Cross-check every number against the custodian. Statements. She worked through the weekend, sent me the draft Sunday night at 9:47 p.m. I reviewed it line by line until 1 a.m. Found 7 minor discrepancies. I marked them and sent it back. Monday morning, she had corrections ready before I arrived. We presented the plan together. The client was impressed. He increased his allocation by another $12 million. That evening, my father called. "Sarah says you had her working all weekend. She's exhausted. This is too much pressure for her." Yeah, I was walking along the waterfront after closing the office. "She's compensated for her time. The client is happy. That's what matters." He pushed harder. "You're pushing her because of old resentments." She told us about the Goldman thing again. "We didn't know it meant that much to you." I stopped walking. "You knew exactly what it meant. You chose the brunch anyway." Silence. Then, "We were trying to help both of you." Help felt very one-sided for 29 years. The call ended without goodbyes. Sarah's performance improved steadily through July. She learned the software platforms faster than I expected. She started anticipating needs, flagging upcoming tax, deadlines, preparing quarterly review packets 3 days early. Clients commented on how responsive she was, but the power dynamic was always clear. She reported to me. I reviewed her work. I approved her time off. I signed her paychecks. August 2025. We hit $240 million in assets. I brought on a junior analyst part-time. Sarah trained him on basic admin protocols. She did it well, patient, clear instructions. I watched from my office through the glass wall. One Friday, my mother showed up unannounced at the office at 4:30 p.m. She had taken the train in. Sarah looked surprised and a little embarrassed. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Sarah asked, quietly. "I wanted to see where my girls work. Take you both to an early dinner." I stepped out of my office. "We have a 5:15 client strategy call. It will run at least an hour." My mother looked at Sarah. "Can't you leave early just this once?" Sarah glanced at me. I said nothing. She answered, "I have to prepare the notes for Emma, maybe next week." My mother left disappointed. Later, she sent me a long text about family balance and not letting work destroy relationships. I read it once and archived it. September brought the first major confrontation. A family office client with $80 million wanted to pull half his assets because of a personal disagreement with one of my investment theses. He was emotional. Called the office 3 times in one morning. Sarah handled the first 2 calls professionally. On the third, she transferred him to me. During the call, he raised his voice. I stayed calm, explained the data, offered alternatives. He agreed to a follow-up meeting. After I hung up, Sarah came in. He was really angry. "I'm sorry I couldn't calm him more." "You did fine. Anger is his problem, not yours." That night, Sarah called our parents. She told them I had been distant and cold again. My father called me at 8:20 p.m. "Your sister is doing everything right and you still treat her like an employee." "She is an employee, a good one. But this is business." He raised his voice. "We gave her everything growing up because she needed it. You were always stronger. Now you're using that strength to hurt her." I answered, "I'm giving her the same chance I had. Steady work, clear expectations, no safety net, she's surviving, even thriving on some days." The conversation grew heated. He brought up old stories, how I never needed help, how Sarah was more sensitive. I listened to all of it. Then I said, "Dad, the brunch in 2022, the Goldman interview, that was the day I stopped needing your version of help." He hung up. Sarah was quieter the next week at the office. She arrived earlier, left later. She asked thoughtful questions about client strategies. One afternoon, she brought in printed research on a new fixed income product I had mentioned casually. I reviewed it. "Solid summary. Add this to the next client packet for the Henderson family." She smiled. Small, genuine. "Thank you." October 2025. 3 years to the month since the blocked interview. Assets under management crossed $310 million. Revenue for the year projected at $3.8 million. My personal draw was strong. I paid myself a mid-year distribution of $180,000. Sarah's rent was covered comfortably now. She had bought new work clothes, professional dresses, good shoes. She looked put together every day. My parents invited us both to their house for a Sunday dinner. Neutral ground, they said. I drove out. Sarah came separately. The table was set with Sarah's favorite dishes. My mother had made the lemon chicken she loved. They asked about work. Sarah talked about a successful client onboarding she had managed alone. I added details about the revenue it generated. Then my father cleared his throat. "We've been thinking. Maybe it's time Sarah takes on more responsibility, perhaps a promotion. She's been there 4 months." I cut my chicken. "She's performing at assistant level. When she's ready for more, we'll discuss it." Sarah looked down at her plate. "Dad, it's fine. I'm learning a lot." My mother jumped in. "Emma, you could at least give her a title change. Executive coordinator or something. It would mean the world." I put down my fork. Titles are earned here, not given because we share DNA. The rest of dinner was quiet. Sarah helped clear the table without being asked. I left at 8:30 p.m. She stayed longer. On the drive back to the city, she called me. "Emma, they mean well. They just want to see me succeed." "They want the old dynamic back," I said. "It's not happening." She was silent for a moment. "I know. I'm trying to earn my place. Really. Keep trying." Results matter more than trying. I folded my hands on the table. This isn't revenge, this is consequences. Sarah failed upward for years because of you. Now she's succeeding on merit, under supervision. That's justice. He tried to argue. Sarah cut him off. Dad, enough. I love you both. But I'm not coming back to the old pattern. Visit me on weekends if you want, but respect my job. They left 20 minutes later, defeated but quiet. No more yelling. Just acceptance slowly sinking in. March 2026. Assets crossed 420 million. I promoted Sarah to senior. Executive assistant with a new salary of $86,000. She now attends some client meetings with me. She contributes insights. Clients like her. One evening after a long day, we sat in the office alone. The harbor lights sparkled outside. Sarah spoke first. Remember that Tuesday in 2022? The brunch? I nodded. I was selfish. I knew the interview mattered. I let Mom and Dad cancel it anyway. I'm sorry, Emma. Truly. I looked at her. I know, and I see you working to make it right. That's enough. She smiled, a real one. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful you hired me. You could have said no. I could have. But watching you grow here has been satisfying. We locked up together, two sisters walking out into the Manhattan evening, different from before, not warm and fuzzy, but real, earned, balanced. My parents still call sometimes. Conversations are shorter, more careful. They see Sarah's new apartment, her confidence, her paycheck. They see my success too. The firm, the numbers, the respect in the industry. The golden child learned humility. The scapegoat built an empire. And the parents finally witnessed the consequences of years of imbalance. That blocked interview in 2022 turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to build something unbreakable, something mine. And in the process, it gave my sister the structure she desperately needed. Life has a way of correcting the scales. If you've ever been the unfavored child, if your parents sacrificed your dreams for your siblings' convenience, if you've waited years for the moment when the roles finally reversed, tell me your story. What was the moment everything changed for you? I read every single comment, everyone.